Hi, my kindergarten friends. I'm here with my son, Liam. Liam, can you say hi?
Hello.
He's going to help me get you started on this tutorial. So by now you will have read The Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. He is one of my absolutely favorite children's author, illustrator, and I think it's so cool that he was able to do both. So what we're going to work on today is getting our leaves and our flower ready. So I'm going to give you a couple of choices because I know we're all working with what we have at home right now. So you can obviously use crayons, you can use colored pencils, you can use, like if you have any of these watercolor trays, some of you have that, like, any kind of, less colors is fine, but a watercolor tray like that, as long as that's okay with your loved ones at home. You can also use, we happen to have, these are watercolored pens, so they're going to help us a little bit, but the main focus, no matter what you're using, is basically the colors. So as you can see in the story, the focus colors of our flower are red and orange, so you'll get those, and then our other paper is going to be green. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the background paper for where we're going to cut out our pencils. So today's goal is going to be to read our story, to look at our slides, get ready to learn, and then to get our paper ready for what we make next week. So Liam's going to show us getting started. We basically want to color the whole paper so we can be able to cut out our petals of our flower and our leaves of our flower the next time we meet. So this is just about coloring. Liam's going to use his green, and if you have different color greens of your crayons or colored pencils, you can obviously feel free to use as many as possible. So he's going to show us we could do shading. You could fill that in any way you like. You can put texture in it like he is, so you have those little white patches. And remember, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out our leaves and petals from this. So if you leave a little bit of white patch, a little bit of texture in there, it's actually going to be pretty cool. So don't feel like you have to cover every single spot with your crayons, colored pencils, or your paint. You want to leave some texture in there so it adds some interest to your artwork. Okay, so you're going to keep going. I'm going to have Liam move on to the red and orange just so you see how we'll blend that a little bit, because if you see in the story, there's a little bit of a combination of colors there. So you are going to keep going with your green until the whole page is colored in. Okay, and then we're going to move on to our red and orange. So let's take a look at red and orange. We're going to try and layer those again because we're going to cut out our flower and our petals. We want to try and have as many different colors in there as possible because it will make it look pretty cool. So Liam's going to start out with the red, and he'll lay out some red, just starting to shade. Remember, it's easier to shade if you turn whatever it is you're using, if you're using crayon, colored pencil, or markers like we are, if you shade it to the side. If markers are what you have, I also want to mention, you can absolutely use them. The first thing I thought of though was just crayons and colored pencils, because again, we do want the texture because it looks so much like the book. But please, if you have markers, you are so welcome to use them also. Okay, so you can see Liam is shading, he's blending, and I'm going to give you a little trick. So these are really blendable markers, the ones that we have. But if you don't have ones that are blendable, you can still have the same effect. You can take your crayons, you can take your colored pencils, and you can always use your finger to blend everything in like this, okay? The other trick I have is if you have an eraser at home and you're using crayon or colored pencil, you could take the eraser and you can just gently go over the top of it, just like Liam's doing. We're using just one of our pencil erasers, and it makes it look a little more like painting. And the blending is really nice. So if you have an eraser around, you can also add that in, and it creates a really beautiful effect. Okay, so those are our first steps. Again, coloring in your green the whole paper, and then Liam's going to continue the red and orange. We want 2 whole papers full of color for next week when we go to cut out our plant from the tiny seed, our flower. So these are our steps, and you have the whole week to do it, so take your time, make sure you're doing a good job, and hopefully it's nice and relaxing. So I hope this tutorial helped you get started, and I cannot wait to see your creations.